rematch of the Super Bowl goes to the Kansas City Chiefs going in to San Francisco, beating the team with the second best odds to win the NFC and play the Chiefs potentially in the Super Bowl again by double digits. A 28-18 win for the Kansas City Chiefs over the San Francisco 49ers. Kent Swanson here with Matty Lane. Matthew Lane, feels good to be the only undefeated team in the National Football League right now.
Only undefeated team, only defending back-to-back world champion team. It's just, living the high life over here. Man, it's fun. I mean, it really is. The Chiefs might not always look pretty, right? But like at the end of the day, this Chiefs football team knows how to win games better than any other team in sports right now. Like, it's not even just a football thing now. Like, you can take it across other sports. I think they have more avenues to winning a football game, and they just simply know how to do it no matter what it's going to be. And like knowing that, like in the back of your mind as a game plays out or after a game is over, that's a pretty sweet spot to be in.
Oh, it is delicious. And like, I think I tweeted something kind of in the similar vein out, or like the Chiefs, they're a machine right now. They're just a winning machine. They know how to win. They know how to play winning football. They know how to do it when the time is right, when it matters the most. And they went through a lot of trials and tribulations last year and still came out the other side of it in a phenomenal shape because they wound up winning the Super Bowl. They wound up figuring out a way to win those games, even when it's not always the prettiest, even when there are injuries on both sides of the football that you have to navigate through and you have to kind of figure things out offensively. This team just continues to find ways to win football games, and that's exactly what they did. And I think they're leaning on what they went through last season to help them, be sitting atop the atop the AFC, the only undefeated team left in the NFL. And by the way, they hold a 2-game lead on every single team in the AFC, at least when it comes to their pursuit of the 1 seed. They are sitting in phenomenal shape because they haven't dropped games. They continue to find ways to win these football games. And hey, look, part of this formula has been the defensive side of the ball. And, the last 2 years, this team has played exceptional defense. I think there was a little bit of waiting, maybe expecting the shoe to drop for the other shoe to drop a little bit. That hasn't happened to this point. The defense continues to play very, very good football. But we'll ask Geoff Schwartz about that. Geoff Schwartz jumping in here with us, celebrating another Chiefs victory, sitting here 6-0, 28-18 performance over the San Francisco 49ers. Geoff, how about that game?
I feel like making the Chiefs underdog is never good for the sports books. It seems to not be great. Look, every week, right? The Chia, Mahomes, they keep winning, guys. I don't know what to tell you. They keep winning football games. I said this at the end. They manage to play their best when their best is needed. Now, is that great? Yes, I think the team there, I would say if you're another team, you probably don't want to always have to wait to the end of a game to play your best. But that 4-minute drive at the end was so beautiful, man. I mean, they got the interception and then went 80 yards down the field for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, they put together some great drives there late in the game. And I mean, I think about you talk about winning and doing the winning plays when it matters the most. It's like Mahomes pulled a couple rabbits out of his hat with the 33-yard run earlier in the game, put him in a good situation to score there. And then that, the little flick to extend a drive, he made a couple of those key plays, the touchdown run right at the goal line. He just did some of those winning plays. He made some of those winning plays when they mattered the most.
Why is he allowed to truck safeties but not do quarterback sneak? I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not going to lie. I feel like that is much tougher on the body, trucking safeties than quarterback sneak. But I'm obviously not in charge of those situations. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it's absolutely silly. My tinfoil hat is it's a hunt thing. It comes down from the very top that says we will just never risk, even if it's like a hangnail. Even if it's a hangnail, we will never risk any kind of injury ever coming off this type of play ever again. So instead, have a QB draw where he takes a safety head on at the goal line instead.
I never thought about that. It could come from the top, right? Like we just can't get this guy hurt anymore, so you better not do it. I could see that being the case. Sure.
Yeah, just, on that type of play as well.
But the Niners lined up guys like in those short area situations. They didn't have guys in the B gap.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were begging for Mahomes to run the football.
I think about when, like against the Dolphins last year in Germany, the same thing. The Dolphins, like I think they left an A gap open if I remember correctly. Like it was ridiculous. Like they were not honoring that at all.
They weren't. It's crazy. But hey, man, whatever works. They keep doing it. They keep doing it, and they keep winning these games. 6-0 now, last undefeated team.
4.7 yards on the ground too today. So
I think back to that's when the Chiefs like a little fullback like trap play. That's kind of when it started to lose its luster, was when teams realized they don't have to honor the QB sneak anymore. And it almost feels like that's kind of coincides when that little fullback run play doesn't work. But either way, we got on now. The team, well, you guys mentioned that long drive at the end, like the Chiefs offensive line, they gave up some pressures early on in the game. Then the run blocking for the rest of the game was pretty good. The pass protection seemed like they got it cleaned up in the second half, especially, but even kind of starting in that second quarter, it looked like the offensive line started to turn some stuff around as this game went on.
Yeah, I also think that they started the game trying not to help Wanya, and then they just decided like we have to help because again, like we talked about this before, when you help, that's less people that can help in the pass game. When you're down, Rice and your Browns hasn't played this season, and you relying on Sky Moore to catch passes for you, you want to have the most guys available, right? I mean, I think the leading receiver there was Noah Gray, which tells you how this Chiefs game went, which is pretty wild. And then McCole Hardman obviously seems to own the 49ers for whatever reason. So, the offensive line, especially that final like quarter, played really, really well. And look, the Chiefs' offense was fine. I mean, Mahomes missed that deep throw to Worthy, and they get like one shot a game for that, and he missed it. But then that game would have been 21-6, and the game is probably over right there. But the defense continues to make plays, man. I don't know, what did Mason finish up with? But I feel like every game, well, I know the first 5 games they held the leading rusher under his season average. I can't imagine Mason, his total was 58.5, I believe. He had that really long run in the middle of the third quarter, I think. And otherwise, what did he end up with?
So he has 14 carries, 58 yards, on that line right there. But along with 26, outside of that, 13 of those carries go for just 32 yards the rest of the game. So really good explosive run there.
Yeah, really good job on him. I mean, look, the defense is good. The Watson injury, I don't know what happened to him. They said he got cleated. I think they put an ankle out there. That one is interesting to watch. The Niners targeted his backup immediately. So we'll see how his injury is. I don't even know who they play next week.
The Raiders.
I have no idea. Oh, the Raiders with whatever corpse they have left of their team in Kansas City in Vegas.
I think
it's in Kansas City next week.
Yeah,
is it okay? Yeah,
I feel like it just doesn't matter. I mean, look, they're going to win that game by 3 points. Like whatever it does, it just doesn't matter. It's just get to the postseason and have everyone healthy and figure it out when you get there, and that's where the team is right now.
And I do feel like it's kind of that is kind of a statement and a mentality that I think we all as fans outside looking in need to adopt too, is just, it's not always going to be pretty. This team this team knows how to win. They know how to win in the postseason. They know how to handle their business, and they're taking care of business at a great level right now. I mean, they just went and beat the team with the second best odds in the NFC by 10 points at home. So, I mean, this is these are good wins to have. They've already taken care of business against the AFC North, essentially, as it stands here, because of the Baltimore's been taken care of. They just got to keep winning football games. I want to ask you both really quick, because you brought it up. Noah Gray, yes, did indeed lead the Chiefs in receiving, had a career high for receiving yards with 4 catches for 66 yards. Without looking, do either of you know who the second leading receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs in this game was? Have you both looked, and have you both
seen? Was it McCole Hardman?
Okay, we got one from McCole. Matt?
I haven't looked, but I know.
Okay.
It's Samaje Perine on that one catch late in the game where Mahomes rolled out, because Worthy got a bunch of targets and they just couldn't really convert anything that wasn't like real short. And that was unfortunate. They tried to get Worthy going and they just couldn't get it clicking, but so they didn't really have anybody else that got anything going. Then Perine had that one long catch. So I assume he came in second pretty comfortably.
By 3 yards. So
okay.
So Xavier Worthy, 3 catches for 19 yards on 8 targets. And Geoff, they really did seem to trying to get him involved in. I think he had 5 targets in the first 20 games of that game. I think they were trying to, see what they had, get him involved a little bit there with all the absences at the receiver position. What do you think?
Yeah, they're just. I think they're going to continue just to try to find offense as they can find it, right? Kareem Hunt's been a huge addition to this offense. He's really made a difference in just how physical they can be in the run game. In the pass game, I just think they're trying to figure it out. Dude, this is crazy. 16 completions, 154 yards. Noah Gray, P. Ryan, Worthy, Hardman. You remember, actually, some of those were reverses, right? They actually end up being runs. Travis with 4 catches, Watson with 1, Kareem with 2, and Sky Moore with a drop. Just wild.
Yeah, it's been crazy to see this offense continue to try to figure some things out. And I think Juju's absence early in the game, part of me wondered, because it felt like I felt like McColl was getting involved a lot more early than maybe even they anticipated. Maybe they were just in some personnel groupings and some packages they went to because Juju got hurt. I'm not sure, but it was just fascinating to see.
I also think McCall Hardman is trusted by Mahomes.
I mean, hey, it's hard to argue it right now.
I mean, you just trust him, and the matchup, for whatever reason, is good for the Chiefs. I don't know, but they seem to in these games sort of trust Hardman to be where he needs to be and make these plays, for the team. I mean, 22 first downs for the Chiefs. They were good on third down, which is 8 of 14 and 1 for 2 on fourth down.
And in the red zone, like the two big weaknesses they were good at.
Yeah, red zone 4 for 5. The turnovers, obviously they were +1, which is nice because Purdy just couldn't, just give the ball back to him a bunch. Kind of crazy that is the group of wide receivers the Chiefs scored 28 points against the 49ers.
Yeah, no, I mean, it absolutely was. And yeah, I think the McColl thing, especially, is there's a little bit of trust there from Mahomes, or at least like somebody in the offense, whether it's Mahomes, Nagy, Andy, somebody like trust him to do a lot of the right stuff. And like even with him, we saw him slip on the little, essentially like the little corn dog type route in the red zone that they had to punch it in there on fourth down later. So like he still has his own little warts, but somebody does trust him. And I do think they do a really good job. Andy does a really good job with his behind the line of scrimmage, like jet motion reverses against the 49ers. They constantly kill them with that. And I think, even Xavier Worthy had that reverse that they came around on, and Nick Bosa's kind of stopped that from being a touchdown. If Worthy doesn't have to bubble way around Bosa, he gets behind the lineman going downfield, and he probably scores on that reverse too. So I just think Andy's game plan for the reverses and all the shovel and jet motion stuff really messes with the 49ers defense, and it has been for years. You're
right. He kind of goes back to the well with these things, right? Like he seems to have a great game plan. I thought they would win for not really because Andy Reid is good off a bye like that. That's, but I thought that, and we know, I mean, this is now 6 straight wins against the Niners, including the playoffs, right? Like he just has their number. He understands what to do. And I'll tell you what, man, Kyle Shanahan turns into like a shell in these games. He is so unaggressive. He doesn't go for a fourth down. He just seems scared of Kansas City.
Oh, 100. Like you saw, like there were some very conservative decisions that they made to punt. And I was like, thank you for punting in this situation. We could have forced the 1, the 40-yard line, the -40, something like that, and 45-ish. They didn't go for it. And yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs might be in Spag's head a little bit, or in Shanny's head. And part of that is Steve Spagnuolo. Jeff, I want to just quick thoughts before we get you out of here, though. What do you think about Steve Spagnuolo, this defense's performance against Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, and the San Francisco Niners offense?
Look, I was telling some of this. I was had some family over, and I was talking about they stopped the Niners on third down. Or was it third or fourth down? Did they stop the Niners on fourth down at all? Or was it third and 1 maybe? And Chris Jones wasn't even in, right? Like that's not what his forte is, stopping the run. And they just have a bunch of guys that buy into the system and are okay being role players in a Super Bowl championship team. And they got big old defensive linemen that just jack up offensive linemen. And the various pressure schemes and being able to play man coverage is huge. You put McDuffie on someone and say that, that's it for the day. That allows the freedom to do stuff. And then I think we're seeing like each sort of week, Karlaftis gets like that pressure that led to that's a 3-man rush. And Chris Jones was eating up on Trent Williams. So like now you have Karlaftis spinning on the right tackle, making Purdy maybe throw the ball earlier or sort of flutter that pass. and they're just well coached. You don't see mental errors, right? How many guys in any given week are wide open? Very rarely. Now, of course, guys get beat, right? But just like mistakes, and they're just so well coached, man.
Yeah, they keep doing it, and they keep they lost L'Jarius Sneed, but they just continue to roll. They continue to find ways to to beat teams up, stop the run, and good things keep happening after that. It's been fun to watch, and the Chiefs definitely had Brock Purdy's number this week. Geoff Schwartz, thank you so much for coming on with us, my friend. Appreciate you.
Talk to you next week. Bye, guys. Have a good week.
Sir. Yep, you too. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. To get this new customer offer in your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNpost. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNPOST. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSNpost. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Appreciate everyone listening, watching, supporting KC Sports Network today. Appreciate all the Chiefs fans out there. And we're calling all Chiefs fans. You could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Here's what you got to do. You got to visit chiefs.com/GEHA now. You can enter to win a chance to be on the field for the March to the Three-Peat. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. That is the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs. Still plenty of home games for you to go take advantage of that opportunity there. Chiefs.com/GEHA. Maddie, I want to spend a little bit of time on the defense with you because I think Steve Spagnuolo owns Kyle Shanahan, and I do appreciate and respect Brock Purdy. I gave him his flowers this week, but man, he had a real rough performance, and he was not comfortable at all in what he was seeing. I felt like Steve Spagnuolo in this defense really had his number and really had Kyle Shanahan's number today.
I got 3 main takeaways from this game. One was the fact that I said at the top, like the Chiefs just know how to win games in every possible way, and they're better at it than everybody else. Like that was my biggest takeaway from this game. My next one is this 49ers team, this Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, this version of the 49ers, and this is probably at minimum lasting another 2 to 3 years being this version of the 49ers, does not have a shot to beat the Chiefs in a game that matters. This version of the 49ers is not going to beat the Chiefs in a game that ever matters because, like you said, they have their number. Something about what Steve Spagnuolo dials up on the defensive end, something about what Andy Reid does on the offensive end, not in like the traditional passing game, but with all the pre-snap stuff and things like that. Everything just works against this 49ers team, and it has for years now. Like this isn't just a single game sample size. This is years, and none was more obvious in this game where, Deebo Samuel kind of goes out right before the game, and Brandon Ayuk gets hurt in it. So, like, I don't want to pretend like those injuries to those wide receivers don't have some impact. But Brock Purdy was not ever comfortable in this game. Not a single drop back did he drop back and was he comfortable. Even when the Chiefs would rush 3 or 4 and get no pressure, he was still back there kind of bouncing around. He was ready to go. He was ready to throw. He did not want to hold the ball anymore. I just don't think that they don't see what the Chiefs are doing well when they're out there on the field. This includes Fred Warner, one of the best players in the NFL. This includes Brock Purdy, who's playing great. This is Kyle Shanahan. Everybody out there just doesn't understand and see very well what the Chiefs are doing.
No, and it's a trend, man. Like at this point, like there's just no arguing it at this point. That first interception off the boot, it kind of just felt like the Chiefs secondary had that blanketed, had that covered, and I don't know what the decision was, but I mean Justin Reid, it felt like he had a beat on what was coming. And then, even the Jaden Hicks, they bracketed number 2 over to that side and like just had him blanketed, and Brock Purdy tries to throw that ball, but Like some of the run pressures were working. They did a fantastic job stopping the run. They put them in those disadvantageous situations over there. And I don't know what else I don't know what else to say. I'm just so thoroughly impressed with what this team has done defensively. They continue to find ways, to be that exceptional defense that they were last year. I know the names have changed a little slightly, really not all that much. Just one huge name in L'Jarius Sneed, but the Chiefs have continued to put together a fantastic performance and in a fantastic season. And man, I don't know. It's fun to watch this group kind of evolve and grow and get better. I'll tell you one guy I was just noticing on there's two guys. I think the defensive line played really well this week. I think across the board, I think just the entirety of the defensive line, I think they are one of the winners out of the bye week, I guess, if you will call it that. But two players I thought stood out really well. I think George Karlaftis had a really good game. He had some quick wins that were, he definitely, beat a counter pull pass pro play, right? He tried to, he able to beat that, but I thought he was winning quicker up there. The Chiefs are weaponizing Felix Anudike-Uzomah a little bit. They played him over the nose, and he was generating a little bit of pressure along the interior of that there. And I think maybe the line to think is maybe he's just going to be the one that's going to be drawing that double team so you can free up some of the other rushers and all that kind of stuff. But I was actually impressed with a couple of the rushes that he had from the interior. I think the defensive line just across the board had a pretty solid game.
Yeah, I thought the D-line overall played well. Karlaftis in particular, I think, was having a lot of success working against the Colton McKivitz, the right tackle there for the 49ers. Karlaftis up to this point had been a little disappointing for me this year. Not that he'd been bad. He had still been kind of the same guy that he was, which was very solid football player that was going to collect some stats, be good on all downs, but he wasn't changing the game. He wasn't a dynamic player. He wasn't making impact plays. He was in this game kind of from the get-go too. It wasn't just one here or there. You saw him get that little spin move. He had another rush where he kind of went up and under. It's clearly there. All the tools are there for Karlaftis to kind of become a little bit more of an impact player. So once Charles Omenihu comes back and once he gets into game shape and you have Karlaftis and Chris Jones and Tershawn Wharton, that pass rushing defensive line can be dangerous. And then, sprinkling in some FAU, getting him going every now and then, especially if you can find a way to use him more consistently, if that is going to be as a lighter rusher over a center and stuff like that, I can buy into that a little bit. I'm still kind of waiting to see the impact coming in from him, especially off the edge, because he brings something that nobody else does with his speed. I thought the defensive line overall played good. I thought they still supplemented a lot with the blitzing, and I think that was really good against Brock Purdy. We mentioned in our pregame show, he hadn't been good versus the blitz this year, right? And it showed up yet again. And then I really think, though, losing Debo matters, but the coverage on the back end was great. Trent McDuffie was great. Even the bogus 2 pass interference calls. Jalen Watson was really good, but unfortunately, I think Tucker has an injury update for us on Jalen Watson because he's been playing great this year. So I think we got an injury update. Hopefully it's good news. Oh, I'm Tucker. Let's go.
No, not good news for Jalen Watson. Nate Taylor did report here as I see. He said some unfortunate news on Jalen Watson, who is on crutches with his left foot and ankle in a cast. So that does not sound like good news there. Also, another injury update. This is for the Niners. Kyle Shanahan said they are worried that Brandon Ayuk has injured his ACL. Plus, Deontay Johnson says he's frustrated and he can't play every position on the field and make every play. Just wanted to throw that in there for, maybe
balancing some things out there.
Could be pertinent. All right.
Oh, that's rough on all counts. I do feel really bad for Ayuk too. That's tough, man. Niners are kind of going through it like most teams go through it after a Super Bowl. They really are. They are kind of, man.
What do you think this is gonna do? To get just physically beat down in a game like this too. What do you think that's literally the Niners had one competent drive there the second half where they ran the ball pretty well. Mason got going, they switched to going a lot more outside zone heavy again. They had worked away from it a little bit this year. And then all of a sudden they came back in the second half and just hammered the Chiefs with it, had some positive yards. But then later in the game, it was the cowing 41-yard reception, which was Najee. Well, and it was Najee Johnson stepping in for Jalen Watson, playing on the boundary. And I think he believed he had helped, but it looked to me on broadcast like quarters. You don't get help on the boundary for your guy running deep. That's your guy. You don't get to pass that off to somebody else. And if there was a post over the middle, so Chamari Connor topped a poster out, he had no help, and it looked like he expected to get some there, that's just something you're going to get when you have a guy having to step in from an injury. So you take away that 41-yard pass, this Chiefs defense really shut them down all the way through. I just don't know if you're Kyle Shanahan and this 49ers team, what you do going into next week to feel good about yourselves.
Well, and they are definitely going through it right now. Like just outside of this game is like, and I know that they're still one of the presumed favorites in the NFC, and the NFC is largely a pretty weak division. And this team has the pedigree, and they've got a lot of really good football players. They're just, I mean, the attrition on that side is mattering significantly, and I think it's pretty important to their success. Some of the guys that they've been losing. And at the clip they have, man, it's just, I think it's going to be tough for them to sustain. But hey, let's the NFC get healthy, be right at the right time of the year. They should be okay. Tucker D. Franklin does have another stat for us, though.
This stat's a crazy stat. I was just scrolling through Twitter. Next Gen Stats, the Chiefs defense recorded 3 interceptions playing man coverage against the Niners. They're most in a game under defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. Trent McDuffie allowed just 1 reception for 15 yards on 4 targets in man coverage. They also followed that up with Chiefs outside cornerbacks aligned in press coverage on a season-high 59.8% of their snaps. They did not allow a reception on 5 targets when playing press coverage, including 2 interceptions. That's pretty good.
They had no respect. Neither team had any respect for the other team, the opposing team's wide receivers. I'm assuming the 49ers stats are going to be very similar in terms of man coverage and press coverage. Like it looked like they were playing pretty tight as well. So like, it's just neither team really respected the other team's wide receivers. And I understand that Ayuk went out, but even before that, Trent McDuffie was following him around everywhere. And the Chiefs were like, okay, let's see what Brandon Ayuk does. And yeah, he does drop the one like corner route up over the shoulder, but that was a pretty long developing play that the Chiefs just didn't like blitz on or get pressure. So defense once again played great. We'll see what has to happen with Watson. I do think losing him, the way he's played this year, is actually a pretty big deal. I think you've seen Joshua Williams has been pushed way down the cornerback rotation after playing a lot for them the past 2 years. Najee Johnson, I mean, you have to hope for Najee. It's getting used to NFL speed because he hadn't really played a ton of NFL snaps up until this year, but he's definitely had some downs, I mean, ups, but also downs when he stepped in. Roland Wallace came in the day, played well, but he's like a slot guy. So it's just, if you lose Watson, that cornerback room's depth is going to be stressed a little bit because I think he was playing really good.
This probably can be a good transition in talking the offensive side of the ball because the Chiefs did a great job against Brock Purdy. But here's the other thing. Both Brock Purdy at 36.7 and Patrick Mahomes 44.4 posted the worst passer rating in a start in their careers, including the playoffs. They entered the game ranking 1 and 2 all-time in passer rating, including the playoffs with a minimum of 750 attempts. So the Chiefs do a fantastic job on Brock Purdy. Mahomes has his struggles in this game. This game was kind of a slog offensively. Some of his fault. Like, look, those 2 interceptions that he registers, not exactly on him. I don't know if they're like they're not exactly on him. I think probably the one he wants back the most is probably the vertical pass to Xavier Worthy that he misses down the field. Yeah. But I want to preface all this. I think there was some up and downness with the offense, but I do want to point to something really quick before we get too far down the rabbit hole, because I do think the identity of this offense and the identity of this team, that championship DNA still exists, because you saw Patrick Mahomes step up, make some big plays when he needed to, some big runs. The 33-yard run gets him into the red zone. And then, the 4th and 1 play running over Malik Mustafa, who had actively hurt at least one other Chief player in this game and was, flying downhill, making some plays, just gets absolutely bopped by Patrick Mahomes. I know that this was a ugly game, putting 28 points on the board, knowing that there's a lot of meat left on the bone still, knowing that there's a lot of things you're working through when it comes to injuries with this team and struggles with that. It's good to know that this team can still do that while acknowledging that there are definitely some things that this team can be better at. But I say all that to say, thoughts on the offense, Matthew.
I mean, they do have an identity that they're going in this year. They are, I don't want to say like run heavy team, although like they obviously were today with the way it played out, but they are a much more balanced team that leans on their rushing attack, specifically their downhill rushing attack, a physical, not a finesse, a physical inside zone and like power game, like run game is what they go with. They're a downhill running team that just picks up small yards. They try to play efficient football. And on third downs, they're going to rely on Patrick Mahomes to make things happen. I think they make it really hard on themselves by playing that way because, again, even today when the running game was pretty good, they just barely averaged over 3.3 yards per carry. They just barely did the whole, if we just run it 3 straight times for this exact number, we'll pick up, a first down every time. They just barely got it. Like their run game is not dynamic. I don't know if you can lean on it for the entire game, but that's their identity. So they found an identity. you mentioned the Mahomes interceptions. I wouldn't beat myself up or him up over those 2 interceptions. I wouldn't say either are particularly his fault. They were very unfortunate situations. I thought the first quarter he had some shaky plays, but after that, the final 3 quarters, especially the second half, I thought he played fine for what he had. As the protection picked up, he seemed like he picked up. He wasn't missing throws wildly outside like that long throw to Worthy. He just didn't quite put enough air under it. But besides that, I thought he played good. He made plays when he had the chance to make plays. He found the open guys when he had the ability to find the open guys. He pushed the ball downfield to Noah Gray a couple times when the offense really didn't have much else going. So the identity's right there. Run the ball for not a lot of yards, but constantly forward, constantly picking up positive yards running the ball, and then have Patrick Mahomes be Patrick Mahomes on third down. That kind of seems like what their plan is, and it looks difficult and it looks ugly a lot of the times, but it is who they are right now. And I mean, it's working. It worked very well against this 49ers team, which still has a decent defense.
That was a very good football team that they just beat. That is, again, one of the favorites in the NFC. So, I think there's some struggles there. I think he started looking more comfortable in pass protection with the pass protection as the game went on, which I thought was important. And they came up with a plan for him. But you're seeing that, that run that he made, that 33-yard run, which by the way was the longest run of his NFL career somehow. It made me sit up, just out of my chair. Unbelievable. It was just one of those.
I mean, the long shovel pass on the move, the one to Noah Gray that McCole Hardman almost breaks up accidentally. And then, you mentioned it, running over him and stuff. There's 4 plays right there that not many other quarterbacks in the NFL make, let alone any quarterback's going to make all of them in this game. And the Chiefs won comfortably by 2 scores in this game, right? And it wasn't even quite that close at the end, but they needed all 4 of those plays to get to that point. So yeah, he still has that. He's still that guy when it needs to be. It just looks a little different for, some reasons that we might talk about here in a second. But it just looks a little different. But I do think they have found an offensive identity, and that's something you can say they did not do last year until the playoffs.
Yeah, and they're able to lean on a lot of the things. Again, I think that the last year proves to be valuable because I think that was quote unquote, watch how careful I am with this phrasing, quote unquote rock bottom, where it's hey, look, the Chiefs' rock bottom was they still won the Super Bowl that year. I just think that this team went through so many struggles and so many different things where, they were having a hard time finding, consistent playmakers throughout the entirety of the year. And they were working all these different things to try to see if they could find something that would work. And on the outside looking, it's quite frustrating at times. And I mean, the team was frustrated. They would talk about the frustrations that they were experiencing as well. But I think knowing that they have a baseline to lean on to win football games, regardless of some of those issues that they might have had, they know that they can lean on that kind of stuff. They know that they're able to, to just kind of manage a football game. And I know it gets negative connotations, but Chiefs have done a little bit of that this year. They've done an incredible job with it, honestly, and which is why they're 6-0. They're the only undefeated team in the National Football League, and they hold a 2-game lead on every single team in the AFC West or AFC, period, for that 1 seed, which is a big goal I'm sure this team has. But Juju Smith-Schuster doesn't play for the vast majority of the game. Gets a questionable tag with a hamstring injury early in the game. Chiefs try to funnel a lot of targets into Xavier Worthy. He winds up with 8 targets, 9 touches, I believe. 5 of those targets, I believe, are in the first 20 minutes of the game. So really, we're trying to funnel through some things with him. He was the primary read on several different plays, and they were calling some stuff up to try to get him involved early in the game. But I think it's just continued struggles to try to find, some consistency with the targets and the pass catchers and who's going to be on the field and who Mahomes is going to trust and what's going to be winning football for them in the passing game.
Well, I mean, it's not fair, right? And we can get farther in this tomorrow when we do the KC Lab tomorrow night. But for Worthy, we said coming out of the bye week, we wanted to see what his role was going to be, and we don't know how much of Juju's injury coming into this game impacts this. But you can look, even when Juju was playing to start the game, Worthy was in the slot and Juju was out wide, and that was a change from what they were doing pre-bye, right? They clearly came into this game with the plan, as you said, to get Xavier Worthy going a little bit. They'd had him not run, I don't want to say an entire route tree, but my inkling watching was oh, he's doing a little bit more stuff. They had him doing some more real wide receiver-y things, and it wasn't quite working. And he's still young. It's still this is the first game where he's being used in this way. So this is by no means oh my God, you have to panic about it. However, 8 targets, 3 catches for 19 yards. And it's not like any of the other things were particularly close. And some of the other misses while Pat did miss the long one, which obviously changes the optics of everything, you look at some of the others, though, I would think those probably land more on Worthy not being able to get the separation that he needed to work through the physicality, not being able to kind of get open. I think when they really wanted to get him the ball, they tried to have him run an option route out of the backfield one time. And like, even with that much space, he couldn't get off of the nickel DB once they made contact with him. So like, I do think there is some issues that he's running into as a rookie, as a slider guy. And so the Chiefs are trying to figure out how to use him. But I think you are seeing some of the limitations of being a smaller wide receiver, trying to get caught up to speed in the NFL when you were forced to be your team's number one option. He led the team in targets by 3. He had 3 more targets than Travis Kelce. They tried to run the passing game through him, and it wasn't quite clicking in this game. So we'll have to see what it looks like going forward. But like, it definitely wasn't the strongest game to say this connection is going to carry the passing attack this year. But it at least was nice to see them come out with a different plan of attack for Worthy, because I do think they were trying to get him way more involved.
Yeah, no, it seemed very intentional to start the game, and I'm glad they did. And like, I think they need to keep trying to go back to it to some degree. Like, I don't know if it can funnel entirely through them, but with Juju Smith-Schuster out, that's making it a little bit more difficult. But you see the potential of what Xavier Worthy can do for this team. It's just a matter of them getting on the same page. Those explosive plays. I mean, Xavier Worthy had him beat on that vertical to open up the second half. And that really could have closed some things out. And Patrick Mahomes chucked that thing as far as he could and see what happens, and overthrew him a little bit. But if you connect again, like,
at least it was an overthrow and not an underthrow.
Yeah, exactly. And like, hey, it's easy to say like, what if? But like, hey, look. You connect on that, you're feeling pretty good. That's 2 straight weeks, though, of that happening. That's 2 straight weeks that we've seen that. We're like, hey, you're talking about, hey, they hit one of these plays. You feel really good about where things are going. I think it's time to hear from Tucker D. Franklin a little bit about this game. I've actually got a couple things that I've pulled as well. I don't know if you've been scouring the internet very much, Tuck, but I've seen some things out here as well that have shown up over the interwebs.
Go ahead.
So. Andy Reid wasn't optimistic about Jalen Watson's returning anytime soon after his ankle injury. He said they were waiting on MRI results, but said, I don't think it's going to be great news. That's being that quick is normally not a good sign from Andy Reid. So I would anticipate this team is going to be without Jalen Watson for an extended period of time. And I don't know what that exactly means, but there's plenty to talk about tomorrow or, later in the week about how this team will navigate those issues. Because I think there was some struggles there from Najee Johnson as well. But yeah, there's an update for Jalen Watson. So not just the crutches, as Nate Taylor has reported, but also just does not look good. Doesn't look like it's going to be something that's going to happen very quickly. Tucker, what were your thoughts on this game? We haven't heard from you yet. What are you thinking?
Look, a game that started quite weird, as you could say, with just how it all happened. Love a Super Bowl rematch that starts with that many turnovers and interceptions and everything. But look, my biggest takeaway, Chiefs, fun fact here, the NFL tweeted this out. Patrick Mahomes is 6-0 for the first time in his career. This is the first time Patrick Mahomes has ever been 6-0. Kind of crazy to think about. But look, fellas, I gotta talk about this a little bit more. I gotta talk about Mahomes just bringing the absolute boom when it comes to running the football, 4th down when he needed it. Christian Roland-Wallace, or that's not Christian Roland-Wallace. I just got Christian Roland-Wallace.
Malik Mustafa.
Sorry. Yeah, because Christian Roland-Wallace is better than Malik Mustafa. He doesn't get truck sticked by a quarterback. He just picks off the quarterback is what Christian Roland-Wallace does. He gets in there and he brings the boom, fellas. He's bringing the boom. That's what he do. He brings the boom. That's what he do.
Can you take yourself off? No, I'm just kidding. Kidding.
Sorry, fellas. He's bringing the boom, and you guys just don't want to talk about it. I guess you guys talked about it a little bit, but
no, I love that.
That
Tucker. I like the dance. I'm glad I got to see you dance here. This is what the post-game show needed.
I hope my mic caught everything. I was trying to yell to make sure that it caught it.
I was going to ask if you tested that beforehand because it picked up everything perfectly.
No, I was yelling. Tara's probably upstairs like, what the hell is he doing?
Your performance was fantastic.
It was tremendous.
Thank you. I should have backed up a little bit more so I would have stayed in frame. But
you cut your head off a little bit. First time you've been too tall for something.
That's true. That's a good point.
That play That
I
play
love
was.
you.
I mean, the play obviously mattered. It was a fourth
play
down. It
again.
gets a touchdown. I mean, yeah. This play obviously matters. I think Tom Brady. Okay, Tom Brady was phenomenal as a commentator this game.
He did
People
pretty
ripped him after his first week or two, myself included, because he sounded like a robot pretending to be a person. He's gotten a lot better at this, and he was really good for this game. And I think he did a great job on that. He said, "Oh, Mahomes drops back," and he looked to get his guy, Travis Kelce, is supposed to be one-on-one. That was like their man beater. It wasn't going to happen, and he immediately knew that he had to run it in. And so, just the Brady taking us through the process as a quarterback there was perfect. And then you see Mahomes, it looks clear as day he's going to get in. Even if Mustafa lays him out, that ball's crossing like it's a touchdown. Yeah. But the fact that Mahomes takes his whole dad bod, drops that shoulder, and just flatlines a guy who had been absolutely decleaning Chiefs players this entire game, puts him on the ground, stares at him, and you can see the inner monologue. Pat's inner monologue is telling him to say some shit, and he doesn't. Yeah. He just looks at him, holds that ball real tight, looks at it, and then hits the coldest ball flip to the ref as he walks off. It was a pretty sweet play all around.
He stared him down. He just didn't give him. I don't know what he said or if he said anything. That was pretty great.
He wanted to say something. He just did it. He did it.
You could tell. It's just.
Oh yeah, he wanted to. He's like, nope, watch the ball flip. Oh, the ball flip.
It's cold. It's cold. This angle right here that they give us, and it's not very good for the audio podcast, but that angle, that second angle of just seeing him lower the shoulder. And look, Malik Mustafa's built like a brick shit house. That dude is fucking massive. And Patrick Mahomes with his dad bod just bulls. Man, that just fires me up, fellas. That just gets me going to see your quarterback not having a good day get over here and just lay the boom. Game on the line. He did it. He took it over. God, that fires me up. That fires me up.
Is that a John Gruden impression? Is that
on accident? On accident, that really well. It did. I probably got some of those from John Gruden, but
did that have you feeling real nicey?
That had me. I don't have the sound button to hit for. I got a button over here. Let's see what button I can hit. That had me feeling real nicey, Maddie. That was an accident.
I have Patrick Mahomes was feeling real nicey after the game, and Patrick Mahomes on the end of his 33-yard run said, "I thought about cutting inside, but I'll save that for the playoffs." That's from Harold Kuntz quote.
A couple plays later, he truck sticks a safety, but he was safe with that. Right.
This
from Grant Cohn. Kyle, this is a 49ers thing, but Kyle Shanahan just spent time lecturing Brock Purdy at his locker. Purdy just sat there and listened to saying nothing for 5 minutes.
Shanny's taking his own failures out on poor Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy. I didn't mean to do that.
Slip. That was a Freudian slip.
No, I like him. I gave him his flowers last week. He's earned my respect.
That's a look into the DMs right there.
No, you won't find it. Good luck. You won't. I'm going to escape these allegations. I've been very complimentary of Brock Purdy.
That is true. I haven't been, actually. You can probably find a lot of me saying Brock Purdy.
I've got to hear that lecture. We've got to see somebody. We got to find out from somebody what Kyle Shanahan was saying to Brock Purdy. I've got to hear that.
We haven't really talked about McCole Hardman's punt return though either. That was a big kind of turning point in this game. I do think that. He set the Chiefs up, really kind of flipped the field there, and then the Chiefs were able to score a touchdown. I can't remember what the score was at the time. It was still fairly early in the game, but it really did kind of
3-0, right?
It flipped the script. I think in terms of the just momentum of because the Chiefs offense wasn't playing very good. I think Mahomes might have thrown an interception, maybe the drive before. Again, this is all just off the top of the dome right now.
It was 7-3. The Chiefs had scored a touchdown, forced the 3-and-out, and then had the big punt return, scored a touchdown on that drive because they started at the 30.
Yep, so they were really building momentum. That really did help. McCole Hardman, man, against the 49ers, he turns into something different, dude. And McCole Hardman against the 49ers is maybe a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
I love that they tried to corn dog the Niners again. They're just trying to clown these dudes. I know, but Mike,
he had him.
And honestly, I think some of the stuff that they've done all day with all the jet motioning, they've set up the jet motion, they set up the jet motion, they set up the jet motion against the Niners so they can run that in the red zone because they've had McCole Hardman running on these jets all week. And maybe they were just trying to get McCole involved in the game plan a little bit more this week, just out of PT, just to stress all of the Niners players out because they just had to see him last year and like they've had to watch him run that same play all season, all off season. Like maybe they were intentionally doing it, but yeah, they had him. I
just
think
slipped.
well, that and like, I mean, that was a tough catch. That was a tough play going out into the shade or from the shade to the sun, which I thought was going to be a little bit tricky too, but it was still, it was delicious to see him get that last touchdown. And I mean, the Chiefs had 77 yards on the ground between Patrick Mahomes and McCole Hardman in this game.
Yeah. So to the
And
McCole
2
Hardman thing,
touchdowns.
I mean, I think he was being used against the 49ers because he has a good game against them and because the jet motion stuff does work very well that we were kind of talking about already. Like that's a good way to stress this 49ers defense, especially with Nick Bosa and now Leonard Floyd, who's kind of the same trying to get upfield. But and you don't want to do that all with Xavier Worthy. You don't want to give Xavier Worthy how many carries? All 2 carries plus like all the extra catches that McColl's getting on those, because as we kind of saw, when he gets hit, he kind of flies like a rag doll, right? And like you don't want to give him all of those hits over and over again if you're going to wear that button out. If you're going to use all that behind the line of scrimmage stuff, you want somebody else that presents a speed threat in McCole Hardman to take some of those hits to be a factor in there. And I think you even saw on his touchdown run, McCole runs a little bit more physical, like at the point of contact. He looks a little bit bigger than Worthy when he's going into the contact. So like, I think this is the proper game to dust him out for that. But then I also think once you lose Juju Smith-Schuster, there's no real other options other than to put Sky Moore, who unfortunately had another drop, or McCole Hardman out there to eat up snaps. And McCole clearly seems like a better option than Sky does at this point in time.
Tucker, do you have anything else that you want to get off your chest?
Well, I realized I dropped an F-bomb earlier. I just want to apologize to my mom for saying an F-bomb. I was just fired up.
You got us the E-tag. Let's go.
I know. Sorry about that. I did drop an F-bomb. People probably don't care, but I juiced up. Kyle Shanahan, I don't know if you guys saw this quote. He said, "We got our ass kicked today." And he's right.
And he's right.
Yeah, he was right. They did kind of get their asses kicked. Yeah, I mean, injuries have been really bad this season, I feel like, all across the NFL.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's something we say legitimately every year when it comes to injuries. Like, oh, they're really bad this year. But, like, it does seem like a lot of the contenders are suffering a lot of big-time injuries, as we saw with the Niners. Obviously, just coming into the day, their injury report was huge. It was massive. And, some of those guys did play. And I saw some people, I think, online getting upset about, like, how the handling of injury. I think the way that, like, sports betting is kind of, I don't want to say ruined, but has, like, people's brains are just so get attached to, like, these. They're like, okay, I'm going to place, like, bets on these players. And then they go out there, they give it a try, then they don't play, then they get mad at the handling of the injury report. That's not that fault. That's not the handling of the injury report's fault. Like, it's not the Chiefs' fault that Juju Smith-Schuster tried to give it a go and then tweaked his hamstring again, right? Like, that's not, like, you saw it happen. He slipped and he fell. They're not being shady just because somebody gets hurt. Debo getting sick isn't anything that the Niners mishandling anything, right? He might have pooped his pants, right? I think he did. I think that's why he wasn't out there on the field. That's what I'm saying, at least. But no, that's all I want to say, I think. But I just want to watch the Mahomes truck stick one more time. This is the Mahomes truck. Watch the Mahomes truck stick and try not to get fired up challenge impossible. Because golly, look at boom, let's go, bring the boom.
Hey, and just a demoralizing game, like an iconic moment against a team that you've owned, a team that you've got 2 rings on, a team that you've sent home in February sad. Kyle Shanahan, look at what he's doing with his hair now. Like, yeah, it's just
he's gonna show up with a shaved head tomorrow on Monday. He's gonna hop on his Zoom call with the Niners media. It's gonna be a shaved head.
It's like they gotta try something out, and maybe lecturing your quarterbacks for 5 minutes immediately after the game is the right move. We'll see. We'll find out for the rest of the season with the San Francisco 49ers. But I do believe it is toast game. Let's go.
Nope. Hold on. Tucker had a request before we get to toast game.
Oh, yeah, I did have a request. Thank you, Maddie, for remembering. And
yeah. Why would we want to do a clean transition on this show ever?
Well, I did say I wanted to run through the people that support us, Kent. Wow. Sorry.
Okay.
Wow. Now you guys know who doesn't stand up for the little people.
Jeez. Holy cow. Reggie Comedy, $5. Thank you for the super chat. Hunt carrying the backfield again and closing the game out. Not bad for a washed up running back. Facts. I also want to give a shout out.
What do you think about that, Kent? What do you think about Kareem Hunt, Kent?
Yeah. Andrew Lee.
Mr. Hunt. Good player.
Mr. Kareem Hunt. Mr. Kareem Hunt. Grayson Jasper, thank you for your super chat. CRW KMT plus Hicks film room for and subs. Maddie, that's probably a question for you.
I have to see what this week gives me. There's some time. I should have a film room. I don't know who it's going to be yet. Maybe those guys. We might look at that. I haven't decided who it's going to be yet, Grayson. But there will be a film room this week at some point in time for sure.
Bumpa BB. Thank you for your super chat. Ayuk is why players hold out. Injuries can happen. Well, he has a big contract, so it works.
He got paid.
He'll be okay. Green asks us, thank you for your super chat. Are the Chiefs winning in spite of Pat? They are winning, but as a team stat, do they need to simplify the offense?
I don't think they're winning. I don't think they're winning in spite of Pat. I think there's been some uncharacteristic mistakes. I think there's been some inconsistencies with the whole of the offense, but I think the whole offense shares it. You saw what Mahomes did. He made winning plays. And I think Matty said, he made winning plays about every single possession in that game that the Chiefs scored. So, I mean, I think Mahomes is, I still think Mahomes is Mahomes personally. I don't have no doubt in my mind. I think they're just working through stuff in the regular season so they can play their best football in the postseason. And they're 6-0 while we're playing around with all that stuff. Not to say or diminish what the issues might be, but they got some work to do for sure. But no, they're good.
Yeah, he's not playing his best ball right now, or he's not even playing he's not playing like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. Like, I feel okay saying that, but he is still making the most elite quarterback. His situational plays right now are still better than anybody else's, right? Like, you couldn't put any other quarterback into those exact situations the Chiefs have had and expect a better result than what you've got. I mean, obviously they're undefeated, so you can't do better than that, but there's nobody else that you can put in there that's going to pull off all of those plays that we talked about. Now, can some of the other stuff in between those plays maybe be a little bit better as Mahomes starts playing better and getting more comfortable? Sure. But at the end of the day, he is the guy making the biggest plays for this team on the offensive side of the ball, as we directly saw in this game through Tucker's great highlights here. So, no, they're not winning in spite of him. It's just he definitely has room to play better, which is a good thing for the team because you assume of all people, he's the one that's going to figure that out.
Maddie, a stat that you retweeted that I want to read on air here.
Sure.
Patrick Mahomes and Peyton Manning. This is from Dante Koplowitz Fleming. Patrick Mahomes and Peyton Manning in 2015 are the only QBs in the last 30 years to throw more interceptions than touchdowns while leading their teams to a 6-0 start. 39-year-old Manning had 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions in a 6-0 start in 2015. They won the Super Bowl that year.
2 rushing yards, though.
Wait a second.
Mahomes will outrush Peyton Manning every day.
I think he's off though. If he might mean 2014 is when they won the Super Bowl. 2015 is the year that Manning essentially got benched in the middle of the year. So we'd have to double check and see which year he started off that way. But the reason this question had spawned is I just wondered if anybody had as statistical of a poor start to the year, like performance to start, as Mahomes did.
He is off.
Yeah, I think he's off a year on that because Manning had his struggles in 2014, but that's the year they won. No, that's not even the year. Did they win in 2015? Am I wrong? Did he come back and they won 2015? Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. It was Super Bowl 50, wasn't it?
See, now everything's thrown off in my head.
This is why we should go to Toast Game.
No, they definitely won in 2015. He played really poorly, got benched, and then they won in 2015. So, hey, there you go. I guess that's on the horizon for Mahomes.
Tucker, play my music. Toast Game is, as always, presented by Ben Holiday, bottled in Bond Bourbon. They've also got I've got the soft red barrel pick from the KCSN Foundation. An absolutely terrific product. It's a 7-year bottle, and we were lucky enough to pick that. Let's go Matthew Lane to start Toast Game. Who you got?
Why? I wasn't ready for this yet. I still had to contemplate where I wanted to go. Give me Christian Roland Wallace stepping in. I think he was, as Najee Johnson had to step in and play for Jalen Watson on the outside. But even before that, Roland Wallace was getting out there in the game, playing in the slot. I think we saw him in the preseason. He kind of looked really good as a slot corner. I even think we had a little bit of a podcast talk about hey, should he maybe get some slot reps if McDuffie's not playing there? And I think it's limited snaps, but like he looked pretty good in this game. He was competitive against all the different receivers he went up against or got the interception. So yeah, I think Roland Wallace got my eyes on the lookout, especially if Watson can't keep playing, if his snap count doesn't go up, but I think he earned it.
Absolutely. I think that's a great one. Christian Roland Wallace, even before the pick, was doing some good stuff. Tucker D. Franklin, wonder where you're going.
I don't think it's any surprise where I'm going, fellas. It's the guy who brought the boom. It's the guy who made things happen when it needed to happen. It's the guy who put the team on his back when they needed him to make conversions. He made conversions. You got guys dropping like flies all over the place, but it doesn't matter. Patrick, LaVon, Mahomes called the game today. That's what he did. He brought the broom. He be bringing the boom every afternoon in quarter number 3. He's bringing the boom on your FYP. That's what Patrick Mahomes does. He's going to do it every single week. Love to see it to Patrick Mahomes.
The Chiefs are Chief offense is currently without wide receivers 1, 2, 4, running back 1 and 2, and it just doesn't matter. That's from Chandler, our guy Chandler.
Shout out Chandler.
Okay.
Shout out Chandler. I'm gonna go Jaden Hicks, who got his first career interception in the NFL. Has not been playing too much on the defensive side of the ball, but was thrust into some positions today. They bracket number 2 on one side of the field, and he makes a pick. Fantastic job by him closing that thing out. Because hey, look, even a drop, that's not a good thing, right? That gives him a chance to put more points on the board. Still,
True.
Getting that interception, turn that thing over. Big moment in the game. Congratulations to Jaden Hicks on his first interception of his career. Let's see if we got any love. We got some love for Kareem Hunt and McCole.
As they should.
A lot of love for McCole. Carson Wentz getting some love as well.
Like, there should have been more Karlaftis love. I mean, like, not that, we talked about him a little bit, but he should have got some shout outs, I think, too, because Chris Jones got a lot of attention, and Karlaftis was being, Karlaftis was being a pain in the ass for Purdy most of the game, even when the blitz wasn't coming. So I think Karlaftis was up there.
And Noah Gray deserves
yeah,
some
that's
love
not
as
fair.
well.
Yeah, you got to get in there on him.
Led the team in receiving, 5 catches, 66 yards, a career high for that as well. So some shout outs there. Thank you all. That is going to do it for the KCSN post-game show. Chiefs win 28-18 on the road in San Francisco, beating one of the best teams in the NFC. We'll see what they do against the Las Vegas Raiders next week. That's going to do it for the show. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll catch you later. Bye now. Tucker, you can stop dancing.
Sorry,
Can't. He's got to come up here to end it.
I got to be the one to end the show.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Deontay Johnson.